Another day, and we continue to talk about Vini Jr.'s
Sick of him.
where he said, I want to apologise to all the Madridistas for my reaction when I was substituted in the Clasico. Obviously, we know what he said here. We know who he apologised to. It's written there.
Well, I can't
Teammates, the club, and the president. There was the glaring omission of Xabi Alonso. Now,
Well, he is taking them off.
there had been a cordial meeting, according to reports, between the two before this was put out. But still, there's been a lot made, as Gustavo Hoffman joins us, our Brazil correspondent based in Madrid, of the fact, Gustavo, that Xabi Alonso's name wasn't on that lengthy Instagram post. And it wasn't by accident, according to what you're hearing.
Exactly, Kale. Hello again. Once again, I'm here to talk about Vini Jr. Well, Xabi Alonso was left out of this message intentionally. Vini didn't want to make a public apology to Xabi Alonso. He apologized for the fans, the president, his teammates, the club, but he didn't want to say, I'm sorry for Xabi Alonso publicly. What I do know by sources is that he apologized for the team at Valdebebas on Wednesday. But publicly, the message was very clear. He would not apologize for Xabi Alonso. Their relationship is not good, definitely is not good. And what I also do know by sources is that Vini is not the only player who is not happy with Xabi's methods. He was the player who turned it public for everybody that he's not happy with Xabi. But by sources, I know that there are more players who are not happy with Xabi's method. And I'm talking about the daily training. Because when we see Real Madrid, they lead La Liga. They have won every match in Champions League. But what is happening is at Valdebebas, the relationship between Xabi Alonso and some players of Real Madrid squad. And the problem is that Xabi Alonso is a very different manager when we compare to Carlo Ancelotti. The way they talk to the players, the way they take the club daily is completely different. So now, Vini is not happy with Xabi, but he's not the only one.
Oh, Shaq, here we go. Normally, it's when you're having a bad time. The top of the league. But I presume they're working a bit harder. I presume Xabi Alonso's bringing a bit more structure. And I don't know this, but Carlo Ancelotti is, if you remember back to, and he's well known as a very good man manager, but he's well known to be a bit more lax in his methods and his training. If you go back to, think all the way back to his end of tenure at Bayern Munich, a lot of the players were saying, and our colleague at the time, Ralf Honigstein, who's no longer working with us, said, the players said it was a bit of a jolly-up. It was too relaxed in training, and it was not enough structure and enough intensity, whatever it is. And I wonder if, and I'm only surmising, but I've seen it when managers come in and come and go, because we've all worked under different managers. And very rarely two managers are the same. One guy comes in, he's a bit more relaxed. Another guy comes in, he's a shouter, he's more demanding, the training's more intense. It might be 2 training sessions a day. Whatever it was, things change and players talk. However, this is slightly concerning, I think, if it's rippling through other players. Particularly if those other players, and I'm not saying it is, are Kylian Mbappe, which it doesn't look like. But if it's senior players as well as Vinicius Jr, who's not covered himself in glory here, by the way, if it's senior players that are not happy, that can be difficult.
Yeah, I listen to you. You have to assume it's senior players, junior players aren't happy.
Well, Rodrigo's one of them, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is that why he's felt more confident, maybe, if it is true that he's left his name out on purpose to put out a post
Absolutely.
like this?
Listen, it was intentional. I think he did it in support of some of those other players who aren't happy with Xabi Alonso and his methods, and feels encouraged by that.
It's a great word, isn't it? Methods.
I guess.
It's like,
Okay.
No, I'm not happy with your methods. How about that method? Sorry, Shaq, to interject.
No,
how about that method is the method currently that has got you where you couldn't get to last year. Top of the league. Right?
And winning a Clasico.
And winning the Clasico, which you couldn't do last year. That's at least one thing. How's about thinking about that method for the time being?
But so now here's the thing, right?
Sorry.
And as much as Real Madrid, whether you think they were right or not in letting go Carlo Ancelotti, that's just how Real Madrid and Florentino Perez have run that club for quite some time. Now you can't question Carlo Ancelotti's methods because of the success that he brought to that club years before last season. But clearly a change was needed. Well, certainly Florentino Perez felt so, and Xabi Alonso come in to deliver that change. And similarly, after Bayern Munich, I think I'm right in saying that Pep Guardiola succeeded Carlo Ancelotti, and it was a change then, which was embraced by the Bayern players at the time, or at least so we were led to believe. But now this is a different Real Madrid in that they've enjoyed an immense amount of success, and I don't want to say have gotten complacent. Definitely isn't the right word, but have gotten used to that way of doing things. And while others may be doing things differently, and you saw the results of last season, you have to change. Something had to change from last season. And Xabi Alonso, certainly on the face of it, is delivering that. So I don't understand this level of ill feeling towards Xabi Alonso and his methods, when ultimately, as players, the only thing we care about, or only thing we should care about, are the results on the park.
Just quickly before we go back to Gustavo, this is great. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but methods is just doing my head in here because it was the method that Xabi Alonso used that was successful for him at Bayer Leverkusen, right? He had a way of doing things at Leverkusen that he was going to bring to Real Madrid. Now, you have to make slight adjustments when you're working with different players and different egos. But he's not going to chuck everything away that he did, that he had great success with in Germany, and come over to Real Madrid and roll over like a puppy dog while all these superstars can stroke him on the stomach. He's not going to do that. He's going to bring with him what he had success with. If this is rippling through more senior players, then Alonso's going to have to deal with this pretty quickly. And there might be a case where Vinicius Jr goes, right, everybody coming with me, lads, and they all stand back and say, no, you're on your own in this one. Maybe they're all going to come and support him. There's no guarantee that's going to happen. I think what we do know, though, is there'll be no apology for leaving Vinicius Jr on the bench this weekend when they play Valencia. And I imagine that's what he's going to do.
No, absolutely not. No apology, that is. We'll see what he does when it comes to the team selection. But how does this whole situation end, Gustavo? Like, what's the thinking of Vini's camp as a solution to this situation? What do they want to happen?
Very, very hard to say, because actually I think that basically we're talking about people management. That's people management. I think that Xabi Alonso is a very young manager. He's still learning at this new profession for him. He was a brilliant player. I think that he's a brilliant tactician. I think that he can become one of the best managers in the next years, but I think that he's still learning how to manage people, how to deal with the egos that there are in the locker room of Real Madrid, as Craig said. So from Vini's sides, from Vini camp, what is really boring Vini and his staff is that they don't understand why Vini is losing so many minutes comparing to last season, because they understand that Vini's performance this season have been good enough to say, well, why are you taking me off? If you check the match of Real Madrid this month, Vini was phenomenal against Juventus, against Getafe, and against Barcelona. He's really playing well. And one more thing that they talk to me, there is no player on the bench who's saying like, man, I'm playing much better than you. I'm having performance much better than you. So Vini's staff, they don't understand why Vini is losing so many minutes with Xabi Alonso. The solution, Kale, I think that both Xabi and Vini should talk one-on-one clearly to understand really what each one thinks and try to resolve things, because Real Madrid is above everybody there. Real Madrid is above Vini. Real Madrid is above Xabi Alonso. Real Madrid is the most important thing there. So I think that they should talk, try to see what they can do. But the solution, real, I think that no one knows. It should come from Xabi, maybe.
My God, it's a mess. And let's be honest, I know Gustavo's close to it, but he's a big baby, isn't he? Vinicius Jr. He's a big baby here. I mean, he was the whole Ballon d'Or thing, and Real Madrid were classless in that Ballon d'Or thing.
So do you think even if he is unhappy, this is not the way to go about it?
Let me give you an opposite here about Vinicius' camp, and Vinicius not been happy about minutes. That's a different manager, different views. Benched him at the start of the season, has been taking him off. That's the manager's choice. Let me give you a reverse here to this way of thinking. Vinicius' camp are not happy that Alonso's taking Vinicius off and he's losing minutes. What did Vinicius Jr.'s camp say last year when one of the most successful and highly regarded managers in world football was under pressure at Real Madrid, and he was having to give Vinicius Jr. a kick up the backside during the game and saying, if you don't start running, I'm going to take you off? What was the camp saying then? Were the camp apologising to Carlo Ancelotti, who was getting it in the neck from everybody? Because Barcelona were flying, they couldn't win a game. Mbappe was on his own. Vinicius Jr. wasn't playing well. Rodrigo wasn't playing well. Vinicius Jr. wasn't working hard, or working hard enough. And that's factual, because Ancelotti was public about it in his press conference. Yeah, I told him. I told him if he didn't start working harder, he was coming off. So you can't have it both ways. You cannot have it both ways. And that's the way that he seems to want it. I think he has to knuckle down and roll his sleeves up and take it on the chin, this Vinicius and get on with it.
Do these situations ever end well, though, Xhaka?
No, they don't. I think at this point it's deteriorated to the point, and certainly publicly, because at least back in the day, when you had a disagreement with a manager or anybody else, everything was dealt with indoors. We deal with it in the locker room or wherever as it is, and it sorts itself out. But to have it spill out and play out as publicly as certainly this is, with, I mean, everything at stake for Real, well, not necessarily for Real Madrid, but certainly for Vinicius as a player who it's not lost in me. He's got, 20 or 21 months left on this contract. You've got a manager who's come in, a manager new to management, yes, but knows this football club, knows the politics of this football club as well as anybody else, who's just come in and certainly, so far results-wise, has turned things around. So I don't see a situation where either backs down or either feels they need to back down or make any kind of compromise or extend any kind of olive branch. And as a result, I just don't see how this is mended in any meaningful way.
It's a real shame, and because we when we were doing the game at the weekend, we said this is going to take up the headlines for a few days or whatever. This is what people are going to be talking about, and here we are. And it's a shame because he's a great player. He's such a talented player. I love watching him play. You know, and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and I get that. I understand it. It's who he is. It's what makes him the player he is that passion, and sometimes you just got to try and control it a little bit, which he seems to have a lot of difficulty with. And listen, I wouldn't necessarily criticise that because that's how some people are. But after the event, you've really got to take some stock. But it's a shame that we're talking about it. But I go back to the point from the weekend. When the manager is trying to bring people on to have fresh legs and then freshen up the midfield as well and basically shut up shop, who else was he going to take off? When Rodrigo was coming on, who else was he going to take off? Brahim Diaz had just come on and was playing further forward. Kylian Mbappe was the star man, was still on. There was only one player, unless he was subbing off the sub in Brahim Diaz or taking Kylian Mbappe off before Vinicius, he was the only candidate in the front line to come off for Rodrigo. It was a no-brainer. So it's not like, you know, it's not like he had two two other choices that were definite to be taken off, he was the guy at that point. It was quite an easy decision from Xabi Alonso, I thought.
Yeah, he looks to be having a bit of fun now, though. He's not carrying it too much. Vini Jr, he's been having fun at a Halloween party with his girlfriend. What can you tell us about these pictures, Gustavo?
Oh, boy.
Well, that's Vini. That's Vini. This one is Vinicius Jr. Eder Militão was also in the party. Endrick and Rodrigo, they had their own Halloween parties. Well, they had to make the party yesterday because today they trained. Tomorrow we have the morning training, press conference with Xabi Alonso, and then they play Saturday against Valencia. So that's well, what can I say?
Well, if he really wants to annoy Xabi Alonso, he should turn up to training tomorrow wearing that.
Wearing that. Well, if he is left out at the weekend, we'll probably be hearing from Gustavo once again to get the reaction to all of that. Gustavo, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see what happens this weekend with Vini Jr. And of course, you can stay up to date with everything that's going on in La Liga on ESPN+. They are taking on Valencia, Real Madrid. We're also going to see Atleti against Sevilla and Barcelona up against Elche on Sunday.